Cooper got open and caught it. Touchdown, Indiana.
Going up the middle is Omar Cooper, and he'll walk into the end zone.
Complete at the 47. Surratt with no one to beat. Indiana football is now 3-0 on their season. The non-conference slate is in the rear-view mirror, and all roads lead to Big Ten play. The number 19th ranked Indiana Hoosiers play host to the number 9 team in all the land, the Illinois Fighting Illini, for a Saturday night primetime light showdown here at Merchants Bank Field at Memorial Stadium. A game of this magnitude has not taken place at this stadium since 1987. These are two teams that are eager to punch their ticket to a seat at the table among the elite of college football. Hello, everyone, and welcome into Crimson Kickoff. Live from Merchants Bank Field here at Memorial Stadium, I'm Joe Cronin, Thomas Crow, Graham Nash, our whole production team making the magic happen for this show. And we got a jam-packed episode. Obviously, the Big Ten season starting for Indiana, and the Hoosiers, they're 3-0, just coming off a 73-0 win over the Indiana State Sycamores. We got to dive into that one first. Thomas, 10 touchdowns from the Hoosiers.
Joe, just shy of the program record of scoring the most points. Last year they did against Western Illinois. Then 73 points, nearly the largest winning margin in program history. Graham, it wasn't very close on Friday night.
No, it wasn't. The Hoosiers were on track for 90 after one half of play. It was truly an offensive blowout. Let's run you through the highlights from Indiana taking on the Indiana State Sycamores. Really, really fun game. The first time these two teams have faced off since 2023. And as you said, Joe, the final non-con game of the season. Fernando Mendoza got things started off hot. Didn't like what he saw with his eyes, so he used his legs, punches it into the end zone for his second rushing touchdown of the season. IU up 7-0 early, and then Mendoza says, hey, I can do it with my arm too. Omar Cooper Jr., whoop, little juke move, finds his way into the end zone. That's the first of many for Omar Cooper Jr.
Now you see me, now you don't. Omar Cooper, that's his first touchdown, but we're going to talk about him a lot more, Graham. How about we just go ahead and do it right now? Over the middle, that extends the Hoosiers' lead to 21-0, celebrating with his teammates, having fun on a Friday. How about the big fella here, Graham?
The tight end, Holden Stays, gets involved for his first touchdown in the cream and crimson, and he was pumped up after this touchdown, and the defense was also pumped up this entire game. Keegan Patterson looking to pass, and down goes Patterson! Down goes Patterson. Ran through by Isaiah Jones. The Indiana defense was strong all night long.
The defensive line had 5 sacks, 16 tackles for loss. And how about a guy known for his punt returning abilities, getting into the end zone with his hands? 2 touchdowns for Jonathan Brady. That one to the back left pylon.
And we mentioned that defense. How about one more time? Kellen Wyatt, this time getting in there, getting up on some action. Indiana takes right back over.
Yep, Kellen Wyatt, 13 tackles this season. Cooper gets in to the end zone there.
And then last but not least, Fernando Mendoza is going to put the icing on top of the cake. Omar Cooper Jr., once again, as you say.
Here we go. Not 4, not 1, not 2, not 3. How about 4 for Omar Cooper? The Indiana Hoosiers extend their home winning streak to 11 games. That is a program record, Graham.
You can see the stats here, guys. 680 total yards from the Hoosiers. And yes, they did play an FCS opponent in Indiana State, but holding them to under 100 yards, the shutout right there. And this is a team on the ground. They have been dominant in their 3 games. Over 300 yards average on the season. They've rushed for over 300 yards in all 3 games on the season. They're the only team in FBS football to do so far. So they're dominating up front, doing so in a big way. And it's coming at a perfect time in preparation for this Big Ten slate.
You said it, Joe. 300 yards in 3 straight games on the ground. Mendoza's only been hit once. We were a little concerned about losing some guys on the offensive line from last season. They've succeeded so far.
They've been healthy so far. And for Fernando Mendoza, he looked so sharp against Indiana State.
Yeah, he really did. I mean, in every single way possible, he was just on his game, which is kind of what Indiana fans expected from him coming in as having the best completion percentage in Cal Berkeley history. And man, did he show it off. It wasn't just screen passes all day long. He was going with the long ball. He was dropping it in the bucket. And man, those passes were for a second straight week pinpoint.
And you talked about the completion percentage. He set the Indiana record on Friday, 19 of 20, 95% to set the record. How about to go along with his 6 total touchdowns?
You can see the stats right there. 6 total touchdowns from Mendoza. And then his brother Alberto also tossing 2 touchdown passes. We talked last week how the brothers did something that hadn't been done in over a decade from 2 Arkansas pair of brothers that threw a touchdown pass. And here they go, Alberto and Fernando doing it again. Fernando Mendoza, he's accounted for 11 touchdowns on the season. He is 3rd in the nation behind Talon Green of Arkansas. And get this, Brendan Sorsby of Cincinnati, former Hoosier right there. So Fernando Mendoza playing some great ball. But the real highlight of the day was Omar Cooper Jr. I mean, what a performance he had. 207 yards of receiving yards, 4 touchdowns. That tied a program record set back in 2006. That was James Hardy.
He was all over the field, too. I mean, this guy was so hard to stop. And I think it's really just showing this game. It showed that Indiana's offensive coordinator, Mike Shanahan, opened up the playbook a little bit more. We saw a couple more plays getting Omar Cooper Jr. involved. Of course, Elijah Surratt had a phenomenal game in week 2, but that I felt like was a little bit more expected. Indiana fans were waiting for that big game, especially after the slow start. This was a little bit less expected. 4 touchdowns for Omar Cooper Jr. I think the playbook was pretty wide open from Shanahan.
Yeah, 2 things struck me. One, you mentioned it, Elijah Surratt. It shows Indiana can have 2 guys now be dominant. Surratt had 97 yards and 3 touchdowns in week 2. Now, Omar Cooper, the other thing that struck me, 10 catches on 10 targets. Graham, Joe, that shows that him and Fernando Mendoza have a strong connection right now.
The surefire hands of Cooper Jr. That game alone surged him into 14th in the entire country in receiving yards. You see what a 200-yard game can do for you. But really the news, besides all the highlights, explosive plays, was an injury report. Lee Beebe Jr., the 3rd string. I mean, he was the running back 3 if you look at it just from a roster standpoint, but this was a guy getting a lot of carries. He went down with a non-contact season-ending knee injury, and stepping up, Kobe Martin, a redshirt freshman, scoring his first 2 touchdowns for the Cream and Crimson. This is a guy that's going to have a little more weight on his shoulders now. It's the Big Ten season, and with Lee Beebe Jr. down.
Yeah, the thing that I think about when I think of Lee Beebe Jr. is yards per carry. He led the team in yards per carry with 7.7 in the first 3 weeks, minimum of 15 attempts. Now it turns to Kobe Martin. What can Kobe Martin do? He had 9.9 yards per carry. Granted, against an FCS team, it's going to be important for him to play well against Illinois.
And I think he can. He's got a really physical running style. You can see in a couple of these plays where he kind of sits, will wait for that hole to open up, and then go straight through it. He's a disciplined runner, it seems like, which for redshirt freshman, like you said, can be surprising that he's got a bit of that maturity. But it's promising, I think. You throw redshirt freshman into Big Ten play, that can be maybe a little scary, all things considered. But the question also is, how much will he be used, right? That's what it comes down to. And that great first performance against Indiana State. Illinois is going to be a lot tougher, especially with that defensive line.
I mean, you can look at the production that he had with the 11 carries, 109 yards. I'm not sure if I'm expecting that against Illinois, but we'll see through this Big Ten season what he's able to do, because he's got some experienced guys in front of him that can definitely lead the charge right there. We're going to take a break, though. Before we preview a lot of what's happening in this Illinois game, I did have the chance to catch up with senior defensive lineman Mikhail Kamara about this Illinois matchup in the first Big Ten game of the season. I'm here with defensive lineman Mikhail Kamara. Mikhail, 3 games down. What have you noticed from the progress of your team so far this season?
I've just seen us, I think, mentally kind of get out of that like slump, right? I think like we're a real old team. Like we have a lot of seniors, a lot of older guys. So I know like the first 3 weeks was kind of like a drag, right? So just to kind of see us get out of that funk, and then especially just execute better on defense, execute better on offense, eliminate penalties, eliminate missed assignments and things like that. I think we really put it all together versus Indiana State. So now it's like, now let's do it against a big opponent, prime time. So I'm excited.
Once the season gets started, everything kind of flies so quickly. I mean, what's been your favorite part of just this first 3 weeks, just getting back to it?
Just playing the game that I love, to be honest. It's like we work a bunch of months out of the year just to play, 12, 13, 14 games, right? So just to come back out here and play in front of the fans, play on TV, and do what I love is just special.
The talk around maybe Bloomington and the media is saying that this is one of the biggest games in IU football history, especially as a home game. I mean, what's been the preparation like? What's the locker room like going into Saturday?
Honestly, it's nothing too different, right? I think everyone's focused in just the same way we was focused, going into ODU. We say it's only a big game because it's the next game, right? So I think going into this game is just execute, right? Execute. Now the lights are a little bit brighter. We're on at 7:30, right? That's really the only difference. But we just go out there, do our fundamentals, play fast, play physical, and do what we need to do. Just come out with a win.
In Las Vegas, you mentioned how you want to embrace some of these big moments, especially with some of the road games this year. I mean, this is a big moment at home. Like you said, it's prime time, 7:30, sold out, red out. What are you trying to do to soak everything in come Saturday?
I just got to go out there and attack it, right? Instead of kind of like trying to let the game come to me, I think my motto is just go and take it, right? Take every single opportunity, take no plays off, and all the plays will find me, the ball will find me, right? So just go out there with an attacking mindset, almost like a Michael Jordan type of mindset, right? Just go out there and hoop and go make the plays I need to make.
This is an Illinois team that very talented offensively. They haven't turned the ball over yet, but they have given up some sacks. Being one of the leaders of that defensive line, how are you trying to be disruptive in such a big game?
Just get vertical, right? It's at the end of the day, it's just get off the ball, low pads, and play my keys, right? It's like the thing about playing defensive line is some days like the ball doesn't come to you, some days the ball just happens to squirt to you every single time. But I think it's just making sure I take no plays off. I'm going 110% every single play. Make sure I'm detailed in my technique, detailed in my preparation, and the ball will find me.
Now, to come away on Saturday with a win, that's a 4-0 start. What does that do to the momentum of this program, knowing that there's some road tests coming up after that?
It's definitely big, right? Just to come out here and just, I think it's good for us to see what we're capable of, right? So kind of like when we played Maryland last year, it's like we know what we have going into camp, but it's like let's see what it's like against a different opponent. So we go out here, do what we need to do on Saturday, and the rest will take care of itself.
Mikhail, thank you so much. Best of luck this Saturday.
Appreciate it.
All business from Mikhail Kamara. He might not admit it, but this game is big. Indiana has not hosted a top 20 matchup since 1987. Indiana and Illinois have not been ranked against each other since 1950. Kamara, he only has 1 sack on the season, but last season, 7 of his 10 sacks came in Big Ten play. Thomas, this is a guy looking for a breakout game.
Joe Kamara, Isaiah Jones, Jose Wheeler, Kellen Wyatt. These are guys who have made quarterbacks' lives really hard on this field in the last 3 weeks, and we'll talk about it even more in the show, but Illinois' offensive line has had some struggles. I think it could be a really good opportunity for those guys to have some really, really big plays on Saturday.
We are going in depth on the Illinois Fighting Illini. They're the number 9 team in college football right now, according to the AP poll. Our very own Brooks White has the introduction on the Illinois Fighting Illini.
For the first time in 38 years, the Indiana Hoosiers will have a ranked matchup here at Merchants Bank Field at Memorial Stadium. The number 19 ranked Indiana Hoosiers play host to the number 9 Illinois Fighting Illini. Both teams come into the game at 3-0, led by great quarterbacks in Luke Altmaier and Fernando Mendoza. And this is shaping up to be an action-packed and exciting Saturday night here in Bloomington. At the center of everything for the Illini is quarterback Luke Altmaier. The senior has been able to get off to a sharp start to 2025, completing over 70% of his passes with 8 touchdowns and no interceptions. He spreads the ball around, but wideout Hank Beatty has been his go-to weapon, already approaching 300 yards on the season. On the ground, Caden Fegan leads the rushing attack with more than 200 yards and 3 scores, giving Illinois balance that forces defenses to respect both phases of the offense. The Illini are averaging 45 points per game, and Altmaier has done it while keeping the offense mistake-free. In fact, Illinois is just one of a handful of FBS teams yet to turn the ball over this season. But here's the catch. Protecting Altmaier remains an issue. He's already been sacked 9 times through 3 games after Illinois gave up a Big Ten high 32 sacks last year. That's the biggest concern heading into Saturday, especially against an Indiana front that's shown it can generate pressure against the best in the country. Defensively, this Illinois group has been dominant. They're allowing just over 7 points per game and have been especially disruptive up front. Linebacker Gabe Jacobs is already an early season standout with 3.5 sacks, while Gentle Hunt anchors the interior. The Illini have forced 6 turnovers in 3 games and thrive at creating havoc in the backfield. The secondary is disciplined and opportunistic, led by defensive back Tanner Heckel, who already has an interception this season. Altogether, this is a defense built to test Indiana's explosive passing game and make quarterback Fernando Mendoza uncomfortable. For Illinois and Brett Bielema, Saturday is more than just another game. It's a chance to prove that they belong in the college football playoff conversation, and to do it on the road in one of the most anticipated nights in Indiana football history. For the Hoosiers, it's their first ranked home game in 38 years with a national audience watching. 2 undefeated teams, primetime lights, and Big Ten stakes. Everything you could ask for in September football will be right here in Bloomington at 7:30 on Saturday night.
The Illinois Fighting Illini, they're 3-0 on this young season. They swept their non-conference slate pretty much with no trouble at all. Some maybe hiccups in the first half of a couple of their games, but they're rolling this year. They're one of 4 Big Ten teams in the top 10 right now, and head coach Brett Bielema, he has his guys fired up. This is a great coach, a decorated coach, has a lot of history, a Big Ten background. When he first started coaching, he was young. He was in his late 30s coaching at Wisconsin. He won the first 2 Big Ten championship games ever, with won 3 straight Big Ten championships as well. This is a good coach. He's fired up, and kind of like Indiana, he's trying to reach into this next echelon.
Yeah, he really is. And he's also in the process of turning a program around, kind of like Kurt Cignetti is as well. Second best record through 53 games by an Illini head coach throughout Illini football history. He's kind of done that. Maybe not as flashy as Kurt Cignetti, because obviously Coach Sig has had some moments that have really gone viral, but Bielema has done a really good job turning this program around. You think about the bowl win, taking on South Carolina, beating South Carolina, that played a really good end of the season, was arguably a CFP team, didn't make it in. This offense that Bielema has put together is an impressive one in 2025.
Yeah, Graham, you hit it. They are trying to get up into that upper echelon of the college football world. Trying to make the playoff is the first step to do it. And guys, I think this might be Brett Bielema's first real, true, honest effort to get there.
I mean, the amount of retention that this team has, bringing back so many starters, bringing back 18 starters into this roster. One of them very important, the quarterback, Luke Altmaier. This guy plays the game very well. He's off to a very hot start. He's one of 3 quarterbacks in all of the Big Ten Conference with at least 8 touchdowns and no interceptions. He takes care of the ball very well, Thomas.
Yeah, and Joe, I think it starts with his patience. He doesn't get sped up. He doesn't get, overtly worried about where the defense is. Even with the subpar offensive line, I think he does a good job of keeping his eyes downfield, staying competent, composed, and ready to get the ball to his receivers.
The one thing to note, though, about Altmaier is he's very much so a pocket passer for Illinois. He doesn't have great mobility outside of the pocket. He can still get it done. We saw a highlight just a couple of clips ago where he was able to get it into the end zone, but he's not maybe a Colton Joseph of Old Dominion that Indiana saw in that first game of the season that rushed it beautifully. So that's a different look for this Indiana defense a little bit, right? Considering the quarterbacks that they faced through the first 3 games.
It does look like he has a surefire, trusted wide receiver 1 in Hank Beatty. I mean, this guy has been hooping this season, looking like one of the top receivers in all the Big Ten Conference. And what he's done so far, really, in his receiving and punt returning, we'll detail more throughout this show. But the passing offense for Illinois, that's kind of their strong suit, because the rushing offense is good. They are getting back one of their running backs, Aiden Lowry, from injury. But this is a team that ran the ball well against Western Illinois. But outside of that, it's kind of been struggling on the ground. They have punched the ball in a lot into the end zone, but they're not averaging a lot of yards per carry.
Well, yeah, I think it just goes down. Once again, we've hit it. The offensive line has to create more holes. That was a very good hole. If they can move people out of the way, get those zone runs running, get people out of their spots, You create holes like that, especially against an ACC team like Duke, you're going to have success on the ground. They're going to have to do that against the strong defensive line of the Hoosiers on Saturday.
Yeah, and it makes things tough too, right? Because if you can't establish that run game, especially early on, it can make things tougher with that play action and trying to trick the defense a little bit more. So Altmaier's job could be considerably more difficult if the run game can't get going a little bit earlier than it has. Got some key pieces back in that run game, but still not up to the standard that, frankly, you kind of need in the Big Ten in the run game to really be successful. And like you said, Joe, a little bit earlier, be in that top echelon, be in that top tier of Big Ten football.
Now, on the opposite side of the ball, the defense has been playing very well so far. They're one of the best rush defenses in the country. They currently rank 13th, only allowing 74 yards per game. They're keeping their opponents to 2.6 yards per carry. This is a front right here that can swarm in the backfield. They hit hard, and they find the ball well. Against Duke, 4 forced fumbles.
Yeah, and they've only given up 2 touchdowns on the year, Joe. My concern a little bit is some of the pass defense. They've had 4 different receivers in their 3 games who have had 50-plus receiving yards. We've talked about it with Indiana, how they've struggled to get rid of those big passing plays. I worry about that for Illinois as well, especially with the receiving core of the Hoosiers.
You got to be happy about that turnover margin, though, if you are a Fighting Illini fan. I mean, Illinois tied for a national lead in fumble recoveries right now with 5. They've been all over the field, making things happen, kind of digging it out of the dirt, which is, again, what you kind of need. Being in that B+, A- tier of football in the Big Ten, you've got to have that ability to just kind of make plays happen. But for the defensive coordinator, Aaron Henry, in his 3rd season now with the Illini, kind of feels like now you can take a leap forward. Believe it or not, he's the 3rd longest tenured defensive coordinator in the Big Ten. Wow. That's kind of unbelievable, only in his 3rd season, but kind of speaks to the moving parts, but also how being in your 3rd season, it may not seem like a lot, but it can be a lot.
Now, Brett Bielema did confirm earlier today some injury news. Xavier Scott, a 2nd-team All-Big Ten cornerback from last season. He will be out for this game. He has a high ankle sprain. It's like a 3 to 6 week timeline. That's a big loss right there. And then Jaheim Clark, he was claiming he's very close. So that is another defensive back. He has not played yet this season, was a starting defensive back last season in 2024 for the Fighting Illini. So it's a banged-up secondary for Illinois right now, and there is some injury news for both teams, but right there, that is something that jumps off the page before this game even happens.
I mean, Omar Cooper and Elijah Surratt, they have over almost 300 yards and 7 touchdowns combined in the last 2 games. Surratt in week 2, Cooper in week 3, and now you're missing cornerbacks? Not good for Brett Bielema's defense.
Yeah, and especially like you said, there have been receivers in those first 3 games that have found ways to be explosive against Illinois, and Illinois, a team right now that kind of prides itself on defense. You take away a bit of that defense, especially in that position where maybe some guys on the opposite team have already been finding ways to get past them and make big plays. That's concerning. That's a big hole in the plan for Brett Bielema.
We're going to segue into some big picture Indiana talk about their Big Ten opener. But first, Curt Cignetti on his Big Ten opener for the Indiana Hoosiers.
Last year, before the season started, we were probably favored in 3 games, right? We were picked 17th out of 18 teams. So every Big Ten game that we went into, we were an underdog before the season started, maybe with the exception of Purdue. So, last year's in the books. It's a new year. Illinois is a good football team. We're a good football team. We had to bring this team along as far as we could. We were playing teams we were pretty heavily favored against. ODU turned out to be a pretty decent team, didn't they? So now, that we're ready for Big Ten football.
It might be cliche, but Curt Cignetti is just riddled with coach speak. It's just in his DNA. This guy lives and breathes football, the fast, physical, relentless, all his little mantras that he has. But the Indiana Hoosiers, they head into their Big Ten opener. And Fernando Mendoza, this is his first Big Ten game ever. And yes, he's had some power conference experience playing in the Pac-12, the ACC, and now the Big Ten. He's kind of been all over the place. But this is big for him.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's kind of where he gets to test all the things that he's been doing, all the things that he went through early in the season. Said playing against ODU, he felt like he was trying to show off maybe a little bit too much, show the entire package that he's bringing from Cal Berkeley to Hoosier fans. But then, man, the way he settled in against Kennesaw State was really, really cool and fun to watch. My question for Fernando Mendoza coming into this game is, will we see happy feet early on? This is something you talked a lot about, Thomas, was about how in that ODU game, he seemed to have just kind of happy feet in the pocket, really wasn't settled. Since then, it's kind of been wiped away. But in that big moment, sold out crowd, red out, what does it look like?
Now, I think the biggest thing for Mendoza is he has a receiving core that has been here before. Elijah Surratt, Omar Cooper Jr., these guys were hooping last season. Elijah Surratt was an all Big Ten player, has represented this team in Las Vegas for the Big Ten Media Days. And then Omar Cooper Jr. really came onto the scene last year, decided to stay with Indiana after being here in the Tom Allen days. And he has just come into his own in this Cignetti system, really learning that playbook. Mike Shanahan has really brought out the best from Cooper Jr. It looks like Fernando Mendoza has a nice pair right there. And this is a deep wide receiver room as well, Thomas.
Yeah, I'm going to hit on what both of you guys said. Graham, you're correct. This is a big game. This is one of the biggest games in Indiana football history, some might say. And now you have Fernando Mendoza playing in this environment. This is a huge game. Joe, you're right. These receivers have been here before. They've had dominant seasons so far. What I'm thinking about is the run game. How can Indiana establish their run game now with still three very solid running backs with Kobe Martin jumping in with Roman Hemby and Kalon Black? Can they use their legs to, like you said about Altmaier, make Mendoza's job easier?
It's a great question because we saw early in the season, that ODU game, it was really a two-run punch. You had Hemby and then you had Kalon Black, using him in a very cool way. Hemby was kind of that agile, shifty back. Kalon Black put his head down, would get you those tough 2 yards that you needed. But then all of a sudden, against Kennesaw State, Kalon Black just kind of blew up. He had a phenomenal game, as did Lee Beebe Jr., but we didn't see much from Roman Hemby, which was kind of a question mark, just getting him ready maybe for this Big Ten slate. I like a lot that 1-2 punch. The question is, where does Kobe Martin fit in? If they really do want that three-back core, where do you insert the redshirt freshman?
I think with Roman Hemby, a lot of it, he's played a lot of football. I mean, he was at Maryland for 4 or 5 years, and now he's at Indiana. This guy has a lot of mileage under his legs, but he still has a lot of pop, a lot of acceleration to his game, and he showcased that in Old Dominion, that this is going to probably be either the 1 or the 2 in this system. But it's interesting where Kobe Martin fits in, because it looked like Lee Beebe was going to have a prominent role come Big Ten play. I don't know if he's going to be getting 10 to 12 carries a game, maybe if he needs to, barring injury. But it looked like Hemby and Black were those guys. But with Kobe Martin being so young, and I mean, his first touchdown was last Friday against Indiana State. So it's just kind of unknown where Martin fits into this offense now.
I lean closer to where you're going, Joe. I'm not sure if he's going to have an elevated role. I think Lee Beebe would have gotten more carries, would have been a little bit more involved. But, hey, we're talking about the third running back here, guys. Roman Hemby and Kalon Black are still very, very effective runners. We've seen it in the first 3 weeks. I don't think Coach Mike Shanahan is going to be all that concerned with having just those two as the lead rushers.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, there's some maybe idea that, okay, you put Kobe Martin in there when guys get tired. I think past that, don't mess with it, especially this early into Big Ten play. Maybe if you got a blowout here and there, put him in. Kind of like Cignetti did with Kalon Black last season. We saw Kalon Black, he was dealing with a couple injuries, got a lot of time in that Purdue game late in the season, got him ready for 2025. I think that's more how you use Kobe Martin than putting him in these high-pressure situations early in his career.
Especially with the caliber of this rush defense that Illinois possesses, I imagine the heavy lean is going to be with Roman Hemby and Kalon Black. But again, we got to shout out the offensive line. I mean, those guys have done a terrific job. The holes are gaping. It seems like these running backs are getting hit 5 to 7 yards into their runs. They're moving the ball down the field. I mean, Pat Coogan, what a great addition that was at the center spot. That was filling in a big shoes from Mike Kadick as well.
He's so physical. He gets downhill really fast. When they let him kind of run, he can get into space immediately, and the protection has been phenomenal. Every time you see Fernando Mendoza go through his progressions, he looks so cool, calm, and collected. It's like he's got all the time in the world. And then, like you said, I mean, the holes that these guys are able to open for the running backs just seem to get bigger and bigger as the game goes on. They don't really get tired, it seems like. They feel so good, and they're creating these 300-plus rushing yard games for their running backs every single time they step on the field.
Guys, I loved watching Mike Kadick play. He's going to be in Bloomington tomorrow on Friday at Upstairs. But guys, I love watching Pat Coogan play. The two things that stick out to me, screen passes, when he gets downhill and that running back's behind him, nobody's touching the running back. And then pulling the center on rush plays. It's not the most common play in the world. It happens. But when you see Pat Coogan move, you're right, Graham. He is fast, and you do not want to be in front of him when he's getting downhill.
Little Jason Kelsey in him.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's a healthy comparison right there. Look at you. So meeting number 75 between the Fighting Illini and the Indiana Hoosiers happens this Saturday, which is kind of crazy because the first 75 years ago was when these two teams were ranked. The last time these two teams were ranked playing against each other, Illinois won in Urbana-Champaign 20-0 when these two teams were ranked in 1950. That was on October 28th. October 28th is kind of the date of the show because that was also the same date that James Hardy caught 4 touchdown passes for the Indiana Hoosiers in 2006. Little random tidbit for you. But this game is huge. It's a 7:30 kickoff on NBC. It's primetime lights. It's a readout. It's a sold-out crowd. This game is massive, and our very own Oliver Carr details the expectations of the crowd and just what is up for this game.
So while it's no secret that Indiana football broke just about every record in the book last year, but while it remains to be seen whether or not they continue their on-field success, when it comes to attendance, the Hoosier faithful continue to raise the bar.
Last season's home games against Nebraska, Washington, Michigan, and Purdue rank among the top 10 for largest attendances in Memorial Stadium history, with the 2024 season's total attendance of over 380,000 setting a Memorial Stadium record. And this season, Hoosier Nation looks poised to eclipse that record, with the first 3 Big Ten games already sold out. And if they complete the set and sell out versus Wisconsin, it will be the first time IU has sold every ticket to all of its conference games. The one conference game that wasn't sold out last year was against Maryland, and afterwards, Coach Cignetti challenged the IU fans to strive for more.
I'm glad that they, keep improving in the attendance area. I thought that was a good turnout. And, good's the enemy of great. So let's have a great turnout. Let's sell it out. Let's sell it out next week, or next time we're going to figure out how to make it even louder.
And when the fans showed up, so did Cignetti's Hoosiers. Since his takeover, the Rock hasn't seen an Indiana loss, turning what was once an easy road win into a formidable test for anyone who comes to play in Bloomington. This Saturday's game against Illinois will also feature another piece of Memorial Stadium history. It will be the very first time IU hosts a national network game that takes place in the primetime 7:30 slot, ensuring the whole nation gets a chance to see Memorial Stadium at its absolute finest.
So when Saturday rolls around and the Hoosier faithful pack the Rock for yet one more time, one thing will be for certain. Hoosier history will be made and records will be broken. For Crimson Kickoff, I'm Oliver Carr.
Again, it's been 75 years since Indiana and Illinois have played a game where both of them are ranked. It's here at Merchants Bank Field at Memorial Stadium this time around. The nature of college football is so drastically different in 2025 than it was in 1950. I mean, no one up here on the Sweet Decks were alive in 1950, so we don't really know what college football was like. But it's going to be 52,000 strong, a red out, towels waving. I mean, I'm kind of getting goosebumps already. I'm going to be down on the field. This is going to be just an electric atmosphere. And gentlemen, it starts with the quarterback play.
Yeah, well, first of all, Joe, could you imagine just a year ago saying that Illinois was going to be a top 10 team in the country, Indiana was going to be a top 20 team in the country, and there was going to be this much hype around this contest? Guys, this is one of the biggest games in Indiana football history, a huge game in Illinois football history. I'm so excited for Saturday.
It's going to be fun.
Imagine saying it 2 years ago.
2 years ago? Yeah.
Imagine saying it 2 years ago. No, I totally agree. It's going to be really exciting. Huge ideas about how this could factor in later in the season as things get kind of close to the CFP discussion. But what I want to talk about quickly before we get to the players is how Bloomington has kind of been the great equalizer in this series. I mean, you look at all time, Illinois leads IU by 20 wins, 45 wins for Illinois, only 25 for Indiana. Here in Bloomington, Indiana leads the series 16-15-1. So, Thomas, we were talking Ryder Cup yesterday. We talked a lot about how the home court advantage is very, very important. How does that tie in? Although Illinois is ranked higher, how does that tie in come game time?
Yeah, it's massive. Joe, We'll get to quarterbacks now. I'm sorry. We talked about some other stuff.
Well, that's important.
Let's start with Luke Altmaier, guys. 709 yards, 8 touchdowns, 71% completion percentage. Fernando Mendoza, really pretty similar. He also has 708 yards. He has 9 touchdowns. He has 2 on the ground. Guys, these are similar statistical quarterbacks, not really all that similar in terms of how they play. I would say Altmaier's a little more of a pocket presence guy, whereas Mendoza uses his legs, I would say, a little bit more effectively.
We'll say Altmaier gets the ball out really quickly. He's able to find his reads quick. He goes through his progressions like a pro. This is a guy that spent his first 2 years of college at Ole Miss under that Lane Kiffin system, and he was the backup to now NFL quarterback Jackson Dart. So he has a little tutelage under him, a lot that he learned. And you can see the stat comparison right there. It's hard to separate them. I mean, you can see small numbers like the quarterback rating and the completion percentage, but it's very close. I think the slight edge Fernando Mendoza has maybe is his ability to run the ball, but Luke Altmaier has played Big Ten games. This is going to be his 16th Big Ten game, where Fernando Mendoza, he's yet to play one yet.
Well, I want to talk about one thing with Mendoza in terms of man versus zone. Our unofficial, maybe eventually official statistician, Bite Size Bison, got me some of these numbers today. 70+% of passes have gone against zone, whereas about 20% have gone with man. Now, some of that does have to do with the fact that the 3 teams Indiana has played early in the year didn't play as much man or as much zone as much man, because they just didn't stack up the same way against Indiana as Illinois does. Illinois will play more man, but against zone, Indiana's been effective. 30 of 37 passing, 489 yards, whereas against man, only 6 of 12 for 55 yards, Joe.
And this is an Illinois team that runs a lot more man, so you might see how that is affecting the different RPO reads and some of those quick hits, the screens that Indiana likes to run. They like a lot of motion, getting guys out, getting the ball out quick. And, this is an Illinois team that plays a lot of man. We did touch on the secondary injuries that Illinois has. It's going to be a very interesting game. Fireworks are going to be here. This is going to be a fun atmosphere. There has not been a primetime game here in Bloomington in so long, and the stars align for this one, having a top 10 opponent in town.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to which quarterback has a better grasp of their offense early in the season. It can be tough kind of warming up to things. I think based on the numbers, based on what we've seen, Fernando Mendoza has a great grasp right now of what the offense needs from him, how he can get the best out of his players because of the blowouts, right? Because of that game against Indiana State, because of how he came back after a tough first week and played really, really well against Kennesaw State. My one question with Altmaier is how it's been a little slow in a couple of those games for Illinois in week 2 and week 3. The Fighting Illini got off to a bit of slower starts, and the offense didn't look as strong as it did in those second halves. Now, he got it, right? I mean, they had some unbelievable second halves late in that pre-conference play, but that gives me question of not necessarily does he have a grasp on the offense as well as Mendoza, but why is he not getting off to as hot of a start?
Something that I've noticed, a lot of the stat comparisons from these two teams are pretty similar. Obviously, they're not exactly, but the biggest difference has come from the offensive line performance. Illinois has sacked the quarterback 10 times. Indiana sacked the quarterback 9 times, but Illinois has given up 9 sacks this season against Western Illinois, Duke, and Western Michigan. None of those teams have really a devouring presence there on their front 7. Western Illinois got to Altmaier 3 times in that game, which honestly, if you're a head coach, you have to go into that thinking that is unacceptable. That is an FCS team. That's a team that they beat 52-3. There's no reason why Altmaier should be getting hit in a game like that.
Yeah, you can't have your quarterback getting hit that much. Guys, it's a couple simple fixes. One for the starting out more hot for Illinois, and then for the keeping him safe, you said it earlier, it starts with the run game. It's simple football, but it's what you have to do. You start with the run game, you kind of open up that pass game, make the defense stay honest to the run. That opens up the RPOs, that opens up the play action. Then once the defense is a little off schedule, then you're not as worried about Luke Altmaier getting hit. So for starting quick and for keeping him protected, I think it starts with the run game, guys.
I mean, it's going to be hard. This is a very strong defensive front from Indiana. We've talked about it really in all our episodes so far. I mean, Mikhail Kamara is a preseason All-Big Ten guy, was first team All-Big Ten last year. Kellen Wyatt's coming in and making an immediate impact. Hosea Wheeler comes from the group of 5, but has implemented himself as a presence. And this is a team, again, they're in the bottom 13 of FBS schools in sacks allowed. Pass protection PFF grades came out, and they're 16th in the Big Ten, whereas Indiana is second.
Yeah, and what sticks out to me is that it didn't really get cleaned up, right? As you talked about those there were 3 pressures allowed against Western Illinois and then against Duke and against Western Michigan. Yep. I get my Westerns mixed up sometimes. It kind of stayed the same. There was a lot of pressure, a lot of sacks, and the offensive line wasn't able to clean it up. That's why you play those games, to clean up the little things like that before you face the defensive line of Indiana, which, by the way, shout out Tyreek Tucker as well, another guy that gets in there and can really just go to work.
Now, with Illinois, they do have a weapon, a decorated weapon, someone who is one of just the best all-purpose players in the country, Hank Beatty, a former 3-star out of Rochester, Illinois. He's been at Illinois his entire collegiate career. This guy is playing so well. 289 receiving yards. That is 16th in the nation. Only has 1 touchdown through the air, but it's his punt returning that really just separates him as this player. He has 152 punt return yards on the season. He's averaging 25.3 yards per return, which ranks 6th in the nation. This is a great player, and this is something that Quinn Warren, the punter for Indiana, he's going to have to watch out if he's punting the ball.
Yeah, it's the versatility for me. It's the speed that you see here getting outside. This is a punt return. Like you said, he has almost 300 yards receiving. He has a rush for 25 yards this year. He only has 1 touchdown, but guys, he is a weapon everywhere on the field, not a guy that you want to get into the open space.
His all-purpose yards ranks 3rd nationally with 466. This is a very dangerous weapon. But on the Indiana side, you got another guy, a Jonathan Brady, and something that Brett Bielema mentioned was the Indiana, how they play so clean, and that's something that really stood out to him. And here is the Jonathan Brady touchdown. And special teams is going to be a really heavy hitter in this game. And when you see these 2 ranked teams, that's where special teams comes into play, is the teams that's able to make a big return, the field goal. That matters.
Yeah, and with how strong special teams is on both sides, feels like there is going to be one big play. There is going to be that one big play. The question is, which side is it on? Because it could be a coin flip. It could be either side. Both teams have such good returners in Beatty and then Jonathan Brady. I don't really think that there's a way to really say, okay, for sure, this is the side that's going to have that big play, because both guys are shifty. They're smart. Jonathan Brady, I mean, you don't normally, as a coach or as a fan, like to see a guy let that ball bounce to you, wait, and then pick it up and go.
That's confidence in yourself.
That's confidence in yourself, and I think that's what it comes down to, is these guys have blinding confidence.
Yeah, and the biggest thing to me, we've talked about the environment, we've talked about the atmosphere. How big is this stadium going to be? Guys, passing touchdowns get a stadium loud, rushing touchdowns, interceptions, sacks. Nothing gets a stadium louder, in my opinion, than a kickoff return touchdown or a punt return touchdown. Guys, Illinois, Hank Beatty can either shut the stadium down, turn them off, or Jonathan Brady can make this roof that isn't really here
no roof
come off.
I wonder if there ever be a roof here in Bloomington. We got our studio back there raising the roof right now, but Jonathan Brady, he leads the country in punt return yards with 211, averaging over 20 yards per return. This is just a fantastic player. And Brett Bielema, in his availability, talked about how clean this Indiana team plays. So let's hear from him.
Very few plays that you can tell there's a mental breakdown or you know, we always say that, you know, more games are lost than won in our program, penalties, mental errors, and turnovers. And they just don't do those things, right? And very, I think a tail is always special teams. Like, you know, you can have a group that has a really good offensive unit, defensive unit, but when special teams falls in line with that, that's usually something that kind of just goes ding, ding, ding. This is a universal approach. And I think just the fact that those coaches have stayed with him right through everything. Obviously, he's kept putting his everybody keeps getting bumped in salaries, which probably makes it a little easier too. But, you know, you just meet an Indiana coach and they love the game, right? It wasn't surprised. You know, Bob Bostad, who he didn't know, right? He retained him, but Bo fits that DNA, right, of what it plays out.
A lot of mutual respect from Bielema and Signetti, which is kind of cool to see that despite maybe the online rivalry that's emerged through Indiana and Illinois on X throughout this week, the head coaches have an appreciation for each other. And before we head out, we have some keys to the game for both teams. What does it take to come away with a win? Because for Illinois, they're desperate for a win. For Indiana, they're desperate for a win. And this game, I personally think that come November, come the end of the season, the committee's going to look at this one for a potential college football playoff ticket.
I agree. For me, it comes down to the run game. Which team can get that going first? That will open up the offense, allow the completion percentage guys of Fernando Mendoza and Altmaier to get going a little bit, because as we discussed, they're unbelievable when they've got that confidence and got a little bit of time. Can they buy time? Because especially with Illinois, that offensive line may not give him as much space as he is wanting. From what we've seen, Mendoza might have himself a little bit at a time because of how strong that O-line has been. But which side can conjure up some of that space for their quarterback early on?
I love it, Graham. Playoff implications on the line. Indiana still has to go to Oregon and still has to go to Penn State. 2 games that'll be tough in the Big Ten. Illinois still has USC and Ohio State at home. This is a gigantic game for one of these 2 teams to potentially punch their way to the college football playoff. My key to the game: which one of Fernando Mendoza or Luke Altmaier will stay upright more often? The Illinois defensive line gets after well, you should have told me. Gets after quarterbacks very well, but Indiana has protected Mendoza well. Illinois' offensive line has not been great. Indiana's defensive line has been getting after quarterbacks, but they've been getting after mobile quarterbacks, not a pocket passer. We'll see if that has an impact on Saturday.
This is the biggest home game for Indiana this season. This is arguably one of the biggest home games for Indiana football history, with everything that has changed throughout college football. This is the biggest road game for Illinois football this season. And I have to imagine it's one of their biggest road games in recent history. Everything matters for this. Everything is on the table. And I say my key to the game, I'm keeping it with special teams. We know what we're going to expect from these 2 very experienced quarterbacks. We're going to see them perform well, I imagine. The ground game from Indiana is going to be versatile. Illinois got their running back, so they're going to be versatile on the ground. Is it Hank Beatty? Is it Jonathan Brady? Who makes a play? Which punter keeps it away from them? Is it Quinn Warren or is it Illinois' guy? It's going to be very interesting how everything plays out special teams-wise. And before we head out, let's get some score predictions. The fun part, the thing that we always get wrong. And Graham, would you like to kick us off?
I will gladly kick us off as the guy that gets it wrong by the most, it feels like, every week. I'm going to go Indiana wins 31-20. I think that the Indiana offense is going to be strong. I think that the defensive line of IU is going to be the difference maker. And like you said, taking down Luke Altmaier, not keeping him upright. I think that, I thought about making it a 1-score game. I think ultimately it's going to be more than that, because I think that Indiana has a little bit more freedom with Fernando Mendoza and with his ability to run and with their ability to run the football in general. I think that's going to open up things a little bit more.
2 great coaches, 2 great quarterbacks, good receiving cores. Difference in the run game, I would give Indiana the win there. Better offensive line, 2 great defenses, some injuries in the secondary for Illinois. Guys, if this was a neutral site game, I don't know where I would have gone. I think these 2 teams are very, very close, but we talked about it. How many points does the Ryder Cup matter on home soil? We decided it was 4. I'm going to give Indiana 4 points in this game, 24-20. Hoosiers take it home on Saturday.
Curt Cignetti is 11-0. At home with Indiana. Curt Cignetti has won by an average of 14 points at home at Indiana. I think that trend continues. I think Indiana wins handily. I do think this Illinois team is good, but I think this crowd's going to be rowdy, and I think this Indiana team is legit. I think this is when the trend starts to set for their season to really get rolling. They win 27-13 at home. We're not done yet, though. We got one more thing to do, because our very own Andrew Hillsman, he has a great story that ties in family, heritage, and it's all brought together by a familiar restaurant here in Bloomington. Don't go anywhere.
There might not be a restaurant in Bloomington with deeper-rooted connections to Hoosier athletics than Buffalo's. If you didn't guess it by the Indiana fans who streamed through its doors, then one look at the walls would tell you all you need to know. And this year, with continued excitement around Indiana football, owner Ed Schwartzman jumped at the opportunity to bring that connection to the menu.
So they approached us. It was not an NIL deal. It's not a big money deal, but it was just something that they wanted to do with a local business to help raise money and awareness to fight MS. We looked at that email and said, we got to be crazy not to. I mean, this looks like a phenomenal thing to do.
The Mendoza Brothers Burger, a partnership with Indiana quarterbacks Fernando and Alberto Mendoza, is a callback to their Cuban heritage. But more than that, it's a show of support for their mother who's battling MS.
I mean, there's a lot of noble causes out there, and that's the big challenge is how do you differentiate? There's so many good causes, but it's a local cause, and if you know anybody who suffers from MS, it's a terrible disease. It really is. And if we could do just a little part, if everybody does a little part, maybe we can make a difference.
For Ed, there's no better feeling in the world than being able to give back to the community and those who make Hoosier sports what they are.
Of course it means something special. And the fact that we have on the menu board the Mendoza Burger, and he's our quarterback, and I don't think we've ever had an affiliation that close where we could actually name something after somebody. And it's fun, we're doing something good, and we're doing something good for some very good people, which makes it very easy.
While fans don't know what's next for the Hoosiers on the field, they do know they'll always have a cause to support at Buffalo's. For IUS TV Sports, I'm Andrew Hilsman.
For consecutive weeks on Crimson Kickoff, we are doing a food review. Grace Lesher had the honor of going and picking up the Mendoza Bros Burger. This looks awesome. It smells so good. It's a double patty, mustard, pickles, ham, bacon, in the works, Swiss cheese. Oh my goodness. We're going to be very careful. I'm not sure if Thomas has his Tide stick, but you want to give a review?
Yeah, so I'll actually let you guys go first. Me and Graham got to go first last week, so I'm going to let you started last week. Be patient.
Yeah,
let big fella over here go first. Look at that cheese.
We're gonna be careful. We're going to eat over in case, because I got a white shirt with the mustard. This is going to get
Look at that cheese. Go, Graham. Let him chew. Yes,
right.
Yes.
All right. All right. I'm definitely going to need a second bite to kind of get everything in. But I love burgers. Burgers are good. It's hard to mess up a burger. And Buffalo's, they do a good job. I've had their burgers plenty of times, but I like everything on this. Pickles are great. Mustard kind of brings out a little complimentary. Oh man, this is some good food. And Swiss cheese, a little out of the ordinary, but I like it. It's good. Let's send this over to Graham.
Yeah. Here's a test because this guy is not a huge mustard guy. So, he's already going for a second bite. That is a good sign. He got a pickle. Thomas Crow. I'm not giving you the mic this early again because last week it didn't work well. I'm doing a play-by-play. He's chewing. He's chewing quickly. Ooh, it's good. It's very, very good.
There's a double.
Did they triple patty us?
I can't tell.
There's ham on there. Two patties. All right, Thomas. Thoughts as a not necessarily a mustard enjoyer?
The burger and the pickles, and I think there's some onions and the cheese is good. I just don't like mustard. It's kind of the same way that I still don't know soccer. I still don't know mustard. And shout out to Fernando and Alberto. I hope they enjoy it, and I hope these guys enjoy it. And shout out Buffalo, shout out Ed. That was a great package, but I'm just not a mustard guy.
For a great cause.
It's for a great cause. I mean, a tremendous job by Andrew going and getting this story done. Thank you to Buffalo's and Grace, of course, for going and picking this up. I'm enjoying this burger. This is a good burger. I'm also hungry. I haven't really eaten for a while, so this is dinner pretty much. But we're going to send it off. Indiana and Illinois, we talked about it. It's the biggest game of the season, and it might be the biggest game of both of their seasons at the entirety. That's going to wrap it up, though. Another episode in the books. We'll be back here next Thursday previewing Indiana's first road game at Iowa. That's going to be a fun one. But 7:30 kickoff here at Merchants Bank Field Memorial Stadium. NBC, the prime time, the red out, a sold-out crowd. I mean, if you're not going to be at Memorial Stadium, you're going to be wanting to watch it. But for Graham Nash, Thomas Crow, our whole production crew, and the Mendoza Bros Burger, I'm Joe Cronin saying so long, and we'll see you next week.
Cooper got open and caught it. Touchdown, Indiana.
Going up the middle is Omar Cooper, and he'll walk into the end zone.
complete at the 47. Surratt with no one to beat.